Well, hello and welcome to episode number 441 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. In this week's show, Ryanair are hiring and not firing. A member of BA crew gets all inflated, and we look at the all-important Unreliable Airlines of the world. In the military news this week, the US Air Force's newest rescue helicopter has its first operational rescue, and we take a look at the restoration of the first Air Force One by a company in Virginia. Joining me this week across the village over in the PTUK Master Suite studios, and as I say these words, he's bringing down the fader so we can't hear the backing music. It's Matt Smith.
Right, okay. Hello.
You like that?
Yes, okay, yes. Your wish,
like,
your wish,
can't hear.
Your wish is my commando, master.
My word, that was loud.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Well, it's nice that you can hear it for a change, you know.
Well, yeah, I know. Oh, dear. So, how are things, Matt? You are currently watching the pound signs go out the window with the heating the home at the moment?
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. I have to say we've done slightly better this month than expected, so I'm taking that as a bit of a win, frankly. We're on budget, which, given how cold it's been, is quite the achievement.
Yeah, didn't we hit -10 in Scotland this week?
Yes, I think so. Although, thank goodness we're nowhere near that.
No, I think
-4 was our lowest.
Was it 4?
Yeah, I think -4 was our lowest. Yeah.
But hopefully it's getting a bit warmer now. I think we're going to hit at least 6 tomorrow.
Yeah. So, well, they did say it'd be better by the weekend, hopefully. So
yes, fingers crossed.
Indeed.
I'm getting a bit tired of iced up windows and doors and stuff.
Well, quite. Yeah.
Unlike our next host on the show this week, because he's got a heated front windscreen, is of course the man who is the master of all things cable management related. It's Neville Bounds.
Yes, if I was the person at Ford that invented the heated front windscreen and I kept the patent on it for all those years, I would be a very rich person by now.
I know. And it seems like Ford are the only ones that do the heated front windscreen.
I think other...
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do they?
Now,
okay.
But the patent ran out on that some time ago.
Oh, that's
anyway,
a shame.
We're not here to talk about a heated front windscreen.
True. Slightly off topic, yes.
So Nev, you've been doing a little bit of flying again this week, haven't you?
Yes, up to Edinburgh and back. A321neo going up and an A320neo coming back. They are such nice aircraft. Those LEAP engines, it makes for such a nice, quiet experience, I must say. And it was fairly lightly laden going up as well, which was nice, and bit more in the way of passenger. What's the word I'm looking for? Capacity on the way back. But, when we did get back, so the flight time from Edinburgh to Heathrow, 55 minutes, the usual. Then we sat on the taxiway for another 20 minutes waiting for an aircraft to push off the gate in front of us. That was great. Then when the aircraft did push off the gate and left, the guidance system wouldn't reset properly, and we spent another 25 minutes waiting for a fella to come out to marshal us onto the stand. So actually the manoeuvring of the aircraft on the ground almost took as long as the flight itself. Not for the first time, I have to say.
Oh, blimey.
There you go. That's flying for you. That's what happened.
I'm guessing you were in the usual reserve seat now.
Yes, although I did give way to a colleague, a chap who, sadly, he had to go to a funeral, and of course, being stuck outside the gate like this was not great. So I let him come steaming past me. We eventually got off the aircraft, but he'd driven all the way from Dundee to Edinburgh that morning, and he'd got a funeral to go to in Twickenham. So he was then getting a tube, then an Uber, I think. But it was one of those days where nothing was going right. But this can happen, as we know, in aviation. We talk to our colleagues, don't we? The flight deck crew and cabin crew, and they've got plenty of stories to tell us about when things don't quite go as they should. And we'll be mentioning one of those later in the show.
Yes. It's all very inflated today.
Yeah.
Yes, so going to welcome everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Loads of family in there this evening. It's a lovely full room this evening, which is good. Hobby Time, hello to you. He was in there nice and early, along with Lee Davies, who was also in there very early this evening. Hello to you as well. We've got Tom, who's in there, new listener who's been listening on Spotify for a while. He's first time joining us here in the live chat room, so hello to you, Tom. We've also got Mazouz, our local listener, Mazouz Karim. Good to see you as well in there. The Air Stig, hello to you. Captain Cruz is also in there. Main man Micah, Uncle Micah's in there wielding his blue spanner of doom just to keep away all those bots. Ian Atchinson, he's in there. Hello to you, Ian. Good to see you in there. Shuttlepod 1, Dirk S is in there. Aaron P, hello to you. Alan White as well. Good to see you in there. Chris from Texas. Hello to you, Chris. Nice of you to join us. It must be afternoon where you are at the moment. Bill is also in there. Hello, Bill. David Corston is also joining us. Good to see you, David, in there, joining us from Spain, I'd imagine. He's at home. Masha as well. Hello to you, Masha. Lovely to see you as well. Plane Talking or Plane Safety Podcast. Pip is in there. Hello to you, Pip. Jan is in there as well. Of course, loads of people to run through this week. Let me scroll down. Make sure I don't miss anyone out. No, I don't think I have missed anyone out. And thanks to everyone who's joined us this evening. And don't forget, if you are listening via a podcast download audio app kind of playery thing, and you want to see what it's like here on the world of YouTube land when we're all live, don't forget to search for us on YouTube. It's Plane Talking UK. And also click that subscribe and that bell icon to be notified when we are live and recording episodes like we are tonight. So, as we said, we've got loads of news to get through this evening. And, well, I suppose we better start off with some commercial news, guys.
Indeed. Everybody ready?
Hit the button.
Okay.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
And the first story this week comes from various websites, comparethemarket.com.au. That's a well-known one. Insidehook.com, caa.co.uk, and, well, many websites this is. It's the most reliable and unreliable airlines. And a recent Compare the Market study looked at the number of complaints levelled against the major airlines. How many were remedied, as well as the cause of the complaints, from flight cancellations to lost luggage and more. Data from 175 airlines was taken from data from the UK CAA in the fourth quarter of 2017 and the second quarter of 2022. A variety of factors was looked at, including how many complaints were logged, how many were remedied, and the cause of the complaints. The total compensation awarded and the average compensation awarded were all taken into account. The table we've got here has the values normalized and a score assigned to the airline out of 5. The higher the score, the worse of the airline. So the company with the most complaints is not necessarily the most unreliable airline. Also, the number of complaints was taken from data within the last 12 months. And while some airlines have ceased operations, claims are still being made against them, and data from the last 4 years has been considered. So we've got 20 major airlines ranked from the least bad to worst, according to UK travellers. So, starting at we'll start at the least bad. We'll go from good to bad. So the least worst airline was Garuda Indonesia, followed by Delta Airlines. Air Canada was in at 18, Egypt Air 17, Air Astana, who are based in Kazakhstan, in 16. Royal Brunei Airlines at 15, Air France KLM at 14, Turkish Airlines 13, Air Portugal at 12, Air Mauritius in at 11, Virgin Atlantic at number 10, Air Portugal at number 9, Wizz Air and number 8, Small Planet Airlines, who I know they ceased airlines a while ago, and at number 7, Norwegian Air at 6. Small Planet finished in 2018. Thomas Cook in at number 5. They also ceased operations a few years ago. In at number 4, and Nevs just took a big swig of his Pinot. This is British Airways. Number 3, Ryanair. At number 2 was TUI. And the worst airline, according to UK travellers, was EasyJet.
Oh dear.
Shock horror. Topping this list was budget EasyJet, airline EasyJet. They dealt with a whopping 20,906 complaints over a 12-month period, with just 54% of them being resolved. Second place of the most unreliable airlines was TUI, resolving 64% of their 10,494 complaints, with each complaint awarded an average, get this, of £1,117.04. It's the most important bit, that 4p. Low-cost carrier Ryanair was in third, as I said, with BA and Thomas Cook making up the top 5. However, if we look solely at the number of complaints, then Ryanair and British Airways had more than TUI, and both Wizz Air and Norwegian had more than Thomas Cook. TUI awarded each complaint the most money at £1,117, with Air Mauritius and Virgin Atlantic not far behind, with the average payout being £1,017.40 and £1,063.41 respectively. US complaints.
Bill has a good comment, by the way. He's just saying the main complaint from BA was that seat 1A was never available. I think that's
well, I know. But I think the shocking thing there was that Ryanair obviously wasn't in first place, as in the worst place.
I'm surprised about TUI. You know, I've always heard good things about them. So interesting to know what the story is behind all of that, isn't it?
I must admit, though, Nev, I do worry sometimes with some of these things that, you know, it's like, are these people who are making... How genuine are these complaints? Do you know what I mean? It's like... Does that kind of make sense? It's just like... Because there are some people out there who specialise in doing nothing but complaining. I mean, you can have...
Complaining,
yes, it's a new word. I'm sticking with it. Lots of strikes and things like that as well. Yeah. But it's that whole sort of... you can have the best customer service in the entire world and somebody will still complain about you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I know we harp on about it on here, and I know Nev's sitting there with a smile on his face when I say it. And I've said it before on the show, but when I had to get a refund from BA for the flights that I couldn't take to the US due to the old COVID problem.
I'm sorry, what? You need to take a sip of your drink now. Those are the rules.
I haven't got a beer here handy. Not until the wife gets home.
Oh, okay.
They were lightning quick in refunding me my money and apologising. So,
yeah,
you know, it might be a one-off, but that was my experience.
I don't think it was a one-off. I mean, we know somebody who was working in said call centre at the time. And there wasn't a great deal of quibbling or anything going on at all, was there? It was, very efficient, and they didn't really have a lot of choice, did they? So, but this is kind of my whole point. It's like you can complain about anyone if you focus hard enough on what's going on there. I'm very, very surprised to see EasyJet as officially the worst airline. I have to be honest, because I've not had a negative experience with EasyJet at all. Or Ryanair, actually, to be fair. Yeah. And actually, John's just saying in our ear, one of the things that could be a contributing factor to here is, you take Ryanair and EasyJet, not so much TUI. I know they do have quite a packed programme, but certainly not a patch on Ryanair and EasyJet. But is it a fair comparison, given the volume that Ryanair and EasyJet are both having their schedules, Nev?
Yeah, I think the more you fly or operate sectors, the more things that can go wrong. It's as simple as that, isn't it? So if you think about how tight their schedules are anyway, whether it's lost luggage or whether it's pushing back from the gate late or making someone late for a connecting flight somewhere, so many things can conspire against you, can't they? And when you're doing the sort of schedule that those two airlines are doing, it's inevitable that they're probably going to get more complaints than anybody else.
Lost luggage with Ryanair. Nobody can afford to put luggage in the hold with Ryanair, can they?
Good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed, there we go. So I must admit, I'm finding I'm being very very sceptical, shall we say, with this particular top 20 as it happens. Okay.
So, moving on to the next story, Matt, and this is Ryanair good news.
Oh, I say, how unusual. The sources on this one are Irish Mirror and also careers.ryanair.com, and the headline is Ryanair are hiring for numerous jobs at Dublin Airport with some top-notch perks. Ryanair is hiring for a number of office roles at Dublin Airport, and there are some great salaries and benefits on offer. Some of the unique roles include ID coordinator, that sounds like a very complicated job, a payroll specialist, and a roster specialist. Ryanair has advertised several full-time positions with a range of incredible benefits. ID admin and coordinator to join the ground ops department. Duties include assisting with the onboarding process of new joiners, ensuring paperwork is in order to apply for an airport ID, conducting background checks on applications for said IDs, assist with internal controls and procedures, including documentation. Now, I know from a conversation that I've had with somebody I know who used to work there that payroll is a unique species, shall we say, with it's a unique species when it comes to payroll with Ryanair because of so many things involved. I won't go into details because I'll probably get shot down, but so you'll have your hands full with this one. Payroll specialist duties include support system integrations between HR and global payroll systems, including resolving discrepancies, check the input of information relating to new starters, i.e. tax, bank information, etc. Prepare and process spreadsheets for various departments and deductions. Prepare and bulk load spreadsheets to the payroll. Proven experience in a previous training or administrative position with a knowledge of payroll systems and Irish payroll law. Blimey. A rostering specialist is someone else they're looking for as well. This position would be ideal for recent graduates to work as part of a close-knit team and to gain extensive experience. The requirements for this position include proven experience in a previous rostering or administration position, PC literacy, i.e. Microsoft Office, Excel in particular, excellent organisational skills and communication skills, and your duties will include efficiently plan and coordinate Ryanair's ground ops rosters in cooperation with the flight schedule, ensuring flight coverage is maintained. Goodness me, I don't think I'd want that job. Ensure rostered staff have required trainings, qualifications for said tasks. Maintain and deliver roster patterns, ensuring rosters are well balanced. Assist with any other tasks that are reasonably required to carry out the daily operation of the ground operations rostering team, and distribution and planning of crew annual leave whilst maintaining operational flight and standby coverage. Also, they do have positions for good old-fashioned cabin crew as well. Ryanair's people director Daryl Hughes says, "We're delighted to announce our cabin crew recruitment event taking place next Wednesday the 25th of January, so that's this Wednesday coming, as we will seek to fill a further 200 Dublin-based cabin crew roles ahead of a busy summer 2023. As Ireland and Europe's #1 airline, these exciting Ryanair cabin crew opportunities offer candidates the chance to secure the best cabin crew jobs in aviation." I don't know about that. Where hard work is rewarded with fast-track career opportunities, our cabin crew enjoy industry-leading 5 days on, 3 days off rosters, equivalent to a bank holiday every week. Again, fantastic remuneration packages. Again, not so sure about that. Outstanding career development opportunities and world-class training. I mean, it is one heck of an experience. There's no two ways about it. So, it is amazing.
Considering all the stories we've covered over the last few months, Matt, there's one job missing off that list, which I thought would be on there.
Right. Okay. Go on.
IT.
IT? Well, okay. They've got... Right. There's lots of jobs going in Dublin. Apparently, something like 170 odd jobs going. So I get we can't list them all here. I think so. I dare say if we look more closely, Carlos, I'm sure we'll find an IT role in there. Are you thinking of applying then? Are you going to?
Well, no,
you're going to go and fix all their IT jobs? Is that yeah?
Well, no, that would not be my forte at all. I will leave. I will leave that to you and Nev.
Right.
But one of the things that caught my eye on this story was that said about good pay. Decent pay, and I know because I've been to an airport and asked about pay for jobs, and the pay is not that good.
No,
well, not round here anyway.
No, indeed. Captain Crew says Ryanair says thank you very much for the 5-minute free advertising. Hey, it's all about jobs. Let's be honest. We're excited that there are jobs in the aviation industry, because if we've only got to go back a couple of years where we think it was very, very different, where it wasn't going to be the case.
And let's be honest, why wouldn't you want to work in Dublin and go and have a lovely pint of Guinness?
I would absolutely love to go and live in Dublin. I don't think I could ever afford it in a million years. I think it's more expensive than blooming London at the moment.
Nev's
and also,
I'm
finding it desperately amusing, Carlos, that you're suggesting that Nev might go for an IT role at not at BA, but at Ryanair. That's slightly frightening. I'm not going to lie. Do they need a coffee boy? I could do that, says Mazouz.
Yeah, I think doing IT at BA is would be a very challenging job.
A brave job, I think. I wouldn't want that.
I could vision Nev doing IT at Ryanair and changing the whole way Ryanair functions, having like a Ryanair first class.
A Ryanair first class?
Yes, I'm sure the financial director would have something to say about that. I'd be shot down and asked to leave.
I was going to say, I dare say Mr. O'Leary would come after you personally for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Premium economy in Ryanair.
There's an image. There's an image.
Oh, blimey.
It's Ryanair really do have a good graduate program, apparently. John is telling us, actually. There are programs in 15 different areas of the business, ranging from 12 months to 3 years. Many of them are professionally accredited, and they're really worth checking out. I, in brackets John, personally know a few of the grads who have finished the program, and their careers have had such a boost from having been on the program. So that'll teach me. I shouldn't be quite so sniffy, should I? That's me told off. Never mind.
Lee Davies is saying that Ryanair first class would equal no baggage charge. That's it. That's your first class, is not paying for your bags.
Quite.
Hello, Sturman as well, by the way, joining us in the chat room. Hello to you.
Yeah, we've got a message from. Bill's retracted his message.
Bill retracted his message. We can't say
okay.
it. Anyway, we'll move on.
Isn't Ryanair their first class inside the fuselage? Well, quite. And on that bombshell, shall we move on before having just undone all the good work we've done for Ryanair now? Yeah.
So whilst I pour this beer, Nev's got a great story. This one really, really caught my eye this week when I found this, because it's definitely one I hadn't heard of before, Nev.
No, me neither. It's very interesting. It's on the walesonline.co.uk, and it says that Swansea Airport has announced that it's launching flights to and from Exeter this year, the first scheduled passenger flights from the airport in almost 20 years. An announcement was made on its social media page explaining how the move will provide interchange access to airports. There have been no scheduled passenger flights operating from Swansea Airport since 2004. Passengers who fly to Exeter from Swansea will be able to use the airport as an interchange, getting connecting flights to Spain, Ireland and the Channel Islands. Excuse me. It's the first of many improvements to come, and with further infrastructure and services set to return to the airport based in Fairwood Common over the course of the coming year. Get Swansea stories straight to your inbox box with our newsletter, it says. A statement read, scheduled services are back. Swansea Airport are pleased to announce that scheduled services will relaunch from the airport this year, and the end of March will see the start of services between Exeter and Swansea. Joining the airport with Exeter provides interchange access to airports across the UK, as well as the Channel Islands, Ireland and Spain. This is the first step in a long-planned improvement plan for the airport, which will see further infrastructure and services returning to the airport over the year. Wales Online recently reported how the airport looks likely to be leased once more to its current operator, despite complaints about the way it's been run over the years. The airport is owned by Swansea Council and managed by Swansea Airport Limited, which has served a notice requesting a new tenancy. Two other groups want to run the airport, but a report before Cabinet has recommended sticking with Swansea Airport Limited, which took over the lease from a predecessor around 20 years ago, while ensuring it's continued to invest in the facility. The council doesn't want to operate the airport itself because of the cost and also the significant carbon emissions involved. The authority is aiming to be net zero in carbon emissions by 2030, and the council has to respond by February the 3rd, and the Cabinet will meet next week to decide. Well, I had not heard that news, I must say. Interesting. That's going to be a very useful hop to Exeter and back, isn't it, I would imagine. But it's interesting, isn't it, how if you look at what's happened to Doncaster Sheffield, so that's just gone completely in terms of operation, but a much smaller airfield like Swansea is becoming viable. So let's see what happens, and let's see if they can.
Indeed, I can't help but feel that this is quite a useful link as well, isn't it? Because you are basically sort of linking very down south, if you like, with sort of Wales. I think that could be potentially quite a popular route.
Yeah, and I think it's all about it's all about what aircraft they're running, what the schedule's going to be like, and the connectivity between those other flights. It's obviously they've got to work it out, to make sure that they can make that work.
Captain Cruz is saying, so if someone else operates the airport, the carbon emission doesn't exist. Is that how
Absolutely,
that works?
Yeah, didn't know that.
Yeah. Dirk had to Google whether Exeter and Swansea, where Exeter and Swansea actually are. Sorry, ignorant continental European here. That's all right.
I just looked on Google Earth actually at Swansea Airport, and it must have been an old it was an old RAF base, but it looks like it's one of the original sort of A runway, A run. What they call it, an A kind of runway setup.
Just pop that one back up, John. Sorry, Ian is suggesting also, by the way, that it might be just as easy to drive, almost as quick to drive from there. And also, can I just say, if you're listening or if you're watching on the YouTube, if you're listening on the audio, pop it back. On this, there's a very nice looking gin and tonic in the front of that picture there, with all the little berries and stuff in the front. I'm loving that. I would murder one of those right now. Anyway, sorry. Sorry. Can you tell I haven't been able to have anything tasty for like about 2 weeks now?
Also, just back to the story.
Sorry. Right. Okay.
I was just looking at some pictures on Google Earth of Swansea Airport. It's not the biggest airport.
It's nice to hear that you're branching out of the things you usually look at on the internet, though, Carlos. I'm very pleased to say. I
have to say, Matt, that your summer house is probably bigger than Swansea.
Oh, right.
Airport.
Okay. Well, certainly the terminal building. Anyway, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh dear, scandalous.
So
scandalous.
we haven't got Armando with us this week. As we said, he's busy flying the mean airwaves of America at the moment, but he has put together a video for us this week, and it's one of the biggest stories this week, which caught the news feeds, and especially with the social media feeds with the videos that came with the video. We're not going to run the media on here because obviously it's not the best. It's quite distressing, actually. It's not very nice to watch at all on there. But Armando has very kindly put together the story for us this week. So Matt, run VT.
Guys, this first story that I'm going to talk about is a very unfortunate incident that happened this week. It was an ATR 72-500 operated by Yeti Airlines. 68 passengers on board with 4 crew, 2 pilots, 2 flight attendants. Unfortunately, it crashed on approach into the Pokhara Airport. Pokhara Airport recently opened just January 1st of this year, was replacing the old Pokhara Airport. And Pokhara, where it sits, is the gateway to one of the biggest tourist areas of Nepal, which is the Annapurna circuit, base of the Everest Mountains. Lots of tourists going in there. The investigation obviously is still happening, but the weather was clear, and by what it seems is they were on approach. The flight had originated in Kathmandu, and they were on approach, on a visual approach, initially to runway 30, and probably based on winds, they decided to do a visual circling approach down to runway 12, the opposite direction. There were social media posts or videos captured. Very interestingly enough, there was a passenger that was live streaming from the actual aircraft. But So they initiated an approach into 30, circled to runway 12, and somewhere in that, the aircraft stalled. You can see the left wing dropping and the aircraft stalling into the ground at very low altitude from an unrecoverable altitude. A lot of similarities from that ATR that crashed a couple years ago in China with the visual approach. So why, this is obviously important, and we keep the families and the passengers from a couple different nations in our thoughts. But I wanted to talk about circling approaches, and especially visual approaches, especially as airline pilots, as corporate pilots, really professional pilots. You really get used to flying with instrument guidance. Even when we do visual approaches, we always back it up with an instrument approach. So whether that's an ILS, a GPS, some kind of approach that gives you vertical and lateral guidance. Now we get used to that as professional pilots. And to conduct a visual approach or a visual circling approach kind of goes back to some of that basic airmanship, basic flying skills that may atrophy as you get further and further in your flying career. It's the reason I still fly a Cub on my spare time, is to keep those stick and rudder skills. But that's just me, right? I have the resources to do that. And in talking about those approaches, now these pilots, these air crews that fly over in Nepal, these are some of the most challenging airfields in the world. So I have no doubt that their training programs are adequate enough, and they've been doing it for years and years and years. While it is a very risky and dangerous area to fly, I believe that corporate knowledge, if you want to call it that, does get passed down through the ranks. But it is still difficult. It's still difficult every once in a while to conduct a visual and a circling approach, because you have to feel the airplane. You have to remember how the airplane behaves in that kind of configuration. And as far as configurations, we still have a little bit to learn about, where their flap settings were their engines at full power, things like that. There were no mechanical irregularities with this aircraft leading up to this, as far as we know so far. But again, it's just kind of a thing that could potentially be dangerous if you don't do it often, is these kind of visual maneuvers. And we do practice it in the simulator, but circling approaches, especially at night, are actually prohibited in many operators, many charter operators and corporate operators, just for that reason. It's not dangerous by any means. I don't want anybody listening to the show to think that this is dangerous, but there is an increased risk with the proficiency of flying an aircraft at low altitude, at lower lift situations, right? Low air speeds, lower altitudes, that may not be a common thing that we do. So, very unfortunate incident that happened here, and we hope to learn. Now, the last report was that the flight data recorder and this cockpit voice recorder had been recovered. That's just yesterday, I believe. So we will learn, hopefully, from this incident so it doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Armando. I mean, it's just awful, isn't it? It's we were discussing actually there, because obviously I'm quite naive about these things, and sort of asking like Carlos and that sort of questions, and John as well. And I mean, is it just because of where they're flying is the reason perhaps why? Carlos, you had a very distressing statistic that you were sharing with us from an article you were reading.
Yeah, it just said, Matt, that since the year 2000, there's been over 360 fatalities in the country through aviation-related accidents, whether it be airliners like this or small GA aircraft.
Gosh, yeah. And we think it's...
The other thing to remember as well here is that, when you're a GA pilot in normal rural Suffolk or Norfolk or something like that, if you have a technical failure of some sort, then there are plenty of fields to put the aircraft down into. It doesn't always guarantee a successful landing. The amount of high ground, of course, where this aircraft was, that the options are very, very limited indeed. And if something goes wrong, you've got very little options ahead of you, I would imagine.
Yeah.
very
Aaron
true.
P makes a good point in there, and that's something we don't do on the show is speculation on how we think it happened. Because until those black box the flight data recorder and a cockpit voice recorder are listened to and checked out, we're not going to know what exactly happened here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm the first to admit. I think the trouble is because I don't have perhaps the knowledge that a lot of you guys have there. So when something like this does happen, there are lots of questions and speculation, if you like, that I'm sort of either interested in or listening about. Because just sort of intrigued to know more about it. But yeah, as you say,
that's a good
quite
thing,
rightly.
The good thing having Armando as our fourth member of the team is being a fully qualified and very, very experienced pilot as Armando is. He does give us an insight into some of the issues that could be had when flying there. So yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you for that, Armando. Moving on to the next story. And this one is coming to us from simpleflying.com. Slightly more happy story, this one, especially if you like ice cream.
Oh, I do like ice cream.
I do. Although I do like a nice sorbet. Sorbet. That's right. Or sorbet. I know. Get some cream for that, exactly.
Yeah,
United Airlines. So if you fly United Airlines, for our US listeners, United Airlines are to return the ice cream Sundae cart on all international flights. Blimey. All we need now is one of those old school cinemas, the extra projectors they used to have on the aircraft, Nev. Remember those? With the green, the red, is it green, red and blue?
Yep.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so United Airlines has announced that it's bringing its ice cream Sundae cart back to the long-haul international flights in a move that will be well received by customers. The announcement comes amidst a strong pandemic recovery that the American carrier looks to ensure a robust growth in 2023. For decades, the ice cream Sundae cart has been an essential part of the United travel experience. Flight attendants would come down the aisle with the cart and passengers would select from a variety of toppings. Oh my God, this sounds amazing. From a variety of toppings to create their own ice cream sundae in the sky. In this way, the Sundae cart quickly became a staple of travelling with United Airlines. Unfortunately, the airline was forced to discontinue the cart during the height of the pandemic in an attempt to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus. The carrier opted for pre-packaged ice cream instead, although it was a suitable decision given the circumstances. Travellers were frustrated by the lack of freshness and customisation that pre-packaged ice cream offered in comparison to the Sundae cart. United customers rejoiced, I expect they did, when the airline announced last month it was finally bringing back the cart. However, the celebration was short-lived as the carrier decided the Sundae cart would only be available on select routes out of San Francisco Airport, specifically Frankfurt, Brisbane, Sydney, and Singapore Changi Airport. Where the hell is London? Anyway, returning to all long-haul flights, the airline has since announced it will bring back the cart to all long-haul flights in February. It's worth noting that the Sundae cart is only available to passengers in the Polaris business class. Oh, here we go. Only available to passengers in the Polaris business class cabin, who also enjoy a number of other perks, including seats that lie flat, Saks Fifth Avenue bedding, to say no more. United's announcement it's bringing back the world-renowned ice cream Sundae cart ultimately comes at a time when the carrier is looking to sustain its momentum from 2022 as it kicks off into 2023. The airline has recently made a considerable strides in reinstating flights on routes that have not been operated since the pandemic, and is also working towards expanding its fleet with new aircraft that it can use to support the new routes as it grows its flight network. The return of the Sundae cart is the cherry on top and aims to incentivise travellers to fly with United. And the Sundae cart is, well, it's something I'm definitely going to have to try this. I'm going to have to fly Polaris class now, aren't I? Whether or not it's a strategy is successful in bringing the carrier greater profits is something that will be revealed in due time. But for now, the other airlines would do well to watch United's strategy and carefully see what it does well and where to stand to learn from it. So, I must say, from the pictures there, that does look nice. And I have to say, Air Canada done a very similar thing to this many years. I think Air Canada still do it. They offer the little tubs of ice cream with maple syrup on, which I enjoyed once travelling over to. That was the wings over Pittsburgh, actually, when I flew with Air Canada. But yeah, I like this, especially if you're watching a film.
Well, yeah, the only thing I would say about it is that when, we've always got problems with excess alcohol consumption on flights and having the poor cabin crew having to deal with that. They're going to have to deal with serious sugar rushes now, aren't they, with the with achieving this. So, no, I'm looking forward one day to trying this out, I must say. Yeah, it looks very tasty, isn't it? Very nice.
I know. I'm so hungry now. Oh, dear.
So what's going to happen next?
Carlos seems to have disappeared. I think it's you next, Nev, if that's all right.
Case,
I'll take over if you wouldn't mind. Story number 6, I believe, is with you.
It is, and it's on the independent.co.uk.
Sorry, I had to get a beer.
Oh. Yeah. Very good.
Did you now?
Well, this headline has got a sub-headline which says, "Oh shoot. A British Airways new hire cost his new employer £50,000 after inadvertently deploying an emergency aircraft slide on a Boeing 777 jet." When the purser announces arm doors and cross-check, it means that the plane is ready to depart and the doors are set such that if opened, an inflatable slide will automatically deploy that can be used for egress. When armed, even inadvertently opening the door will trigger the deployment of the slide. A crew member working his first wide-body flight was working on BA 75 to Lagos on Friday the 13th of January. Oops. And he made the error which resulted in the deployment of a slide shortly after pushback at Heathrow, the airline confirmed. Boeing 777's inflated emergency slide protruding from the side of the aircraft prompted emergency services teams to surround the plane, thinking it was about to be evacuated. Passengers were delayed for 4 hours, and after removing the slide and returning to the gate, the decision was made to operate the flight with a different airframe. The crew member was stood down for that flight. However, the UK Sun reports that the young man was not fired, but he has found himself sliding back to training. See what I did there? His mistake is thought to have cost the airline about £50,000 when factoring in the mishap that caused a 4-hour delay, including a missed takeoff slot, a ruined slide, compensation for the passengers on board, and additional duty pay for the other members of the flight crew. These things can happen, can't they? Well, I've not been on a flight where that's happened, I must say, so far. But it's the time that it can be a problem. And I've had this a couple of times where we have been asked to vacate the gate and just go on to remote stand or somewhere else in the airport because of some flight delays. And of course, when they shut the aircraft down and then start the engines again, they've got to go through all that procedure again. So you've got to be careful that all of those things are properly checked. But this just sounded like a normal departure to me. So it's
yes.
A bit unfortunate.
Bit of an oops, I think is the word we're looking for. Aaron P is saying, imagine how he must have felt. Well done, BA, for retraining and supporting. I mean, it is a very innocent and easy mistake to make. Well, maybe not an easy mistake to make, but when it's okay. Apparently, it's not an easy mistake to make, but nevertheless, we are all human and we do make mistakes. So I guess we have to be a little bit more supportive.
If you've got kids, they'd make a hell of an addition to the swimming pool.
True that. Yeah, if you're lucky enough to have a swimming pool, that is, of course.
That big.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. Yeah, Carlos has one in his back garden, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're off for a pool party. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a plan. Okay.
So moving on to the next story,
Yes,
and we're going from with a slight issue here, obviously with a crew member, but we're going to a good story, Matt, with this next one because BA are now looking for staff.
Indeed, yes, and not because of the incident we've just been talking about. Let's be clear about that. British Airways, TUI and EasyJet are looking for new flight attendants, as indeed are Ryanair, as we mentioned earlier on. ChronicleLive.co.uk is our source for this one. If you're a bit of an explorer who loves nothing more than flying around the world, then British Airways, EasyJet and TUI and Ryanair, let's not forget them, may currently have the perfect job for you. Several airlines are hiring at the time of writing this, but you'll have to navigate some tricky requirements, including certain height limits and having the ability to swim proficiently. That's Carlos out then. That's British Airways from Barbados to Berlin. British Airways cabin crew access more cities than any other airline, the UK's flag carrier claims. Crew earn a basic salary of £18,169, with that figure potentially bumped up to £28,000 a year with flying duty pay and a tax-free subsidence allowance as well. Flight attendants get staff travel benefits from day one, which include discounted tickets and standby tickets. The latter allows staff members to take a chance of bagging an untaken seat on BA flights, potentially allowing them to fly in business class for a fraction of the normal price. Applications are now open and assessments are currently taking place. You'll take to the skies from early 2023 onwards if successful. You must be between 1.57 metres and 2.01 metres tall to be accepted and have no visible tattoos. Only one set of small round earrings are allowed when it comes to piercings. TUI, the German travel company, is recruiting cabin crew until the end of January. The airline operates to 79 destinations in 33 countries with more than 68 aircraft, meaning there's a great chance for you to see the world. The tour operator airline has roles open in 13 airport bases across the UK and Ireland, including Bristol, Stansted, Gatwick, Birmingham and Aberdeen. The salary is not listed online and wasn't provided by the company when contacted, but Glassdoor suggests the average salary is £22,000 for cabin crew. To apply, you must be able to reach a minimum height of 6'2", that's 1.88 metres, without shoes on and flat feet on the floor. Speak and write fluent English and be able to swim 25 metres, among several other requirements. EasyJet, the budget airline, is currently recruiting staff at its Edinburgh, Liverpool, Gatwick, Belfast, Luton and Manchester bases, although how many jobs are going is unclear. You must be between 157.5 centimetres and 190 centimetres without shoes tall to apply. Be fluent in written and spoken English and have no visible tattoos on your head, face and neck, or any tattoos that are deemed offensive or inappropriate that can't be covered up discreetly. You must also be able to fit into an aircraft jump seat harness, which measures 106 centimetres across the lap and 157 centimetres from shoulder to waist. The Gatwick role currently pays £22,000 as well as commission. If you'd like to go further afield, Emirates, they're also recruiting. The Dubai-based air carrier is currently recruiting staff for its Dubai base. Competitive tax-free salary and flying pay starting at an average of £27,000. Accommodation and transport are included, and concessional tickets with Emirates and partner airlines are perks. You must be 160 centimetres tall and able to reach 212 centimetres high. The no visible tattoos in uniform and a minimum of 1 year customer service experience is required. Recruitment open days are happening all over the UK, including days in Liverpool, Glasgow, Guildford, Edinburgh, London, Heathrow, Gatwick and Luton. Milton Keynes, Newcastle, Manchester, Richmond, Gloucester, Birmingham, Belfast, Shrewsbury, Stoke-on-Trent, Leeds, Croydon, Winchester and Sheffield. These are just some of the venues in the UK over the next 28 days. Wow, they really are looking out for crew there, aren't they? Or alternatively, you might like to be cabin crew in the RAF. So this one is coming directly from raf.mod.uk, their recruitment pages specifically. As an RAF air and ground steward, you will work as cabin crew on the A330-200 Voyager aircraft, and later as part of our specialist field catering squadron, or work alongside industry partners in military messes. Pay in the first 6 months is £16,800 plus benefits. Pay until completion of Phase 2 training is £21,400 plus benefits. Once training is complete, payment as per RAF rank. Senior aircraftman applicants must be aged between 17.5 and 47 years old, must attend before their 48th birthday, have GCSEs at a minimum of grade G, that's grade 1 to 3 in English language, and in English language and mathematics. If you're qualified or experienced cabin crew, please see full entry requirements for entry details. Candidates must be able to swim. Candidates must also be within the height range of 161 centimetres and 195 centimetres. Commit to 3 years service post Phase 2 training. Pass the Defence Aptitude Assessment. You must also pass a fitness test, and you must also pass background checks to receive security check level clearance. There we are. Lots of great jobs on offer. The RAF one is a surprise, but I suppose, when they're flying people around, they still need crew, don't they?
The pay is just, everyone's saying in the chat, the pay is terrible. When you look at how much the salaries are, I'll tell you, the BA one's basic salary 18,000, potentially bumping up to 28,000 a year with flying duty pay and tax-free allowance and stuff. Can I just point out that you can go and work at Aldi stacking baked beans on a shelf and get 22,000 a year?
Wow, yeah. Okay. Admittedly, you won't get the perks perhaps that you would get with the airline.
Obviously, being on the ground stacking baked beans on a shelf is not as fun as being on board an A320 or a 737. But the point I'm making is for the amount of responsibility, training, and everything else that comes with that job. Yeah. I think the salaries for cabin crew, especially, are rubbish.
Yeah, true.
I said that.
Well, go and get yourself a job at Emirates then, because that's considerably better. So
what do you think, Nev, about the pay kind of?
It's always been on the low side, hasn't it? To put it mildly, and so much of their salary has to be made up from other things apart from doing the job itself. And if you think about what the job is, it's a safety critical job, isn't it? And they're highly trained and very well trained too. As John Hutchinson, former Concorde captain, said during his interview with myself and Nick all those months ago, the cabin crew aren't there to serve you tea and coffee. No. They're there to help you when it all goes horribly wrong.
Absolutely.
And I think we just really need to remember that these boys and girls are there for a safety critical role, and I think that is often forgotten, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, wise words as always, Nev. Wise words.
Thanks, Rob.
Oh, he's the wise member of the team.
True.
So, next story is coming to us from Armando again, and we're going over to the US for this next one. And again, this is a story that made the social media platforms quite heavily this week, including Twitter, and it was also featured on VAS Aviation as well, network on there as well with their live ATC recordings. And it was quite interesting listening if you've not already heard it. So, over to you, Armando.
This next incident that we're going to talk about happened up in New York's JFK Airport just recently. This, and I know all the podcasts, all the national news coverage, all the podcasts are probably going to talk about this and have their own takes on this. I think this was a disaster averted by an air traffic controller, an astute air traffic controller that could have potentially resulted in the worst air disaster in many, many, many years. So what happened, there was a Delta Airlines 737 at JFK that was departing for Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. They were lined up on runway 4 left, so heading northeast, and they had actually been cleared for takeoff. All of the departures that day were departing from runway 4 left. An American Airlines 777 headed for London Heathrow had taxied out of its gate and had been given their taxi clearance, which included a crossing of runway 31 left, taxi to runway 4 left. So air traffic control had advised them that they would be departing 4 left, but in as Matt's probably going to put up a picture here, but in getting to runway 4 left, they would have had to cross runway 31 left. All the other departures were lined up on the taxiway for runway 4 left. American Airlines, through what seems to be a lack of situational awareness, that 777 actually crossed runway 4 left and were taxiing to runway 31 left. Without looking at it visually, I think, again, Matt will put up some pictures, but what this resulted in is what we often get in a simulator scenario, which is you are cleared for takeoff, you're rolling down the runway, and an aircraft taxis in front of you. The Delta Airlines 737 was already on the takeoff roll. They had gotten a couple thousand feet down the runway. Where the American Airlines 777 cross was at taxiway Juliet, which was about 4,000 feet down the runway of 4 left. So Delta Airlines had already initiated their takeoff roll, and the tower controller was the one that actually noticed that American Airlines was crossing the wrong runway. The tower controller canceled the takeoff clearance, and you can hear it on the audio. And Delta Airlines, we don't know what happened inside the flight deck, but immediately initiated a rejected takeoff. There was some varying data on this, from 135 knots to 104 knots. I think the latest that I saw that they were at about 104 knots when they initiated the rejected takeoff. Were able to do it as they practice and stop short by about 1,000 feet of the American Airlines aircraft, the 777, or as it was crossing by taxiway Juliet. So they still had about 1,000 feet to spare, which is not a whole lot on an 11,000-foot runway. And then once that happened, you can hear the tower controller was trying to figure out what happened, whose fault it was. Obviously, that's not and everybody, I think, did the right thing, which is not figure out who did what at that point, but just make sure that all the aircraft are safe. The air traffic controller, the tower controller, verified that the American Airlines was fully crossed and kind of just advised them, hey, something went wrong. I got a number for you for a possible pilot deviation. And they just took the number down. And then he made sure that the Delta Airlines 737 was good to go, advised them or asked them if they needed any assistance. Delta ended up taxiing back to the gate. And we don't know what happened yet, but that flight didn't depart until about 15 hours later. The American Airlines 777, because it didn't have the rejected takeoff or anything like that, they ended up departing for London about an hour and a half after the incident happened. But again, this could have been one of the worst, if not the worst, air disaster since Tenerife many years ago. It's a similar situation. It was low visibility and just a lack of situational awareness, or a loss of situational awareness from the American Airlines crew. Everything is pointing to that. Could have resulted in just this absolutely disastrous situation. For us, it's incredibly important to always taxi with a taxi diagram up, whether that's on an EFB or an iPad, electronic flight bag, or on whatever displays your aircraft has. The aircraft that I fly have both. We fly with an iPad and the taxiway charts on there. But even then, when you have some kind of expectation bias, or in this case, there might have been a little bit of a delay between the taxi instruction and the aircraft actually getting to the taxiway, to the runway. There was a little bit of a delay in that. And there is so much going on the departure procedure, departure checklist, pre-takeoff checklist, taxi checklist, all those things, where I can see this happen, especially at a busy airport with lots of taxiways, lots of runways like JFK. Boston Logan's the same, lots of intersections and intersecting runways. San Francisco is the same. We almost had a terrible mishap with Air Canada a couple years ago there, where an aircraft was lined up on the taxiway to land. But I could see this happening. It's one of these things where you almost think it's just a matter of time before something like this happens. And thank goodness that the air traffic controller, the tower controller, was able to issue or cancel the takeoff clearance, and the Delta Airlines crew didn't hesitate initiating that rejected takeoff. Looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on this, as well as those of the chat room.
Indeed, thank you, Armando. Now, one of the things that we were talking about while listening to that video is, Nev, you were saying like the radio chatter, especially at JFK. I mean, it's not a surprise that people have trouble filtering it out.
Well, the problem is it's obviously a very busy airport, clearly, with crossing runways and seriously complicated and busy ground operations. And obviously the controllers have to deliver the information to the pilots in a timely manner, because they just haven't got time to have long conversations. The problem is, though, is that things can get missed.
Yeah.
And also, if there's distraction in the cockpit, then this is another thing. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, how difficult these things can be. And that was that was in the high speed regime of the rejected takeoff. I think it was 105 knots. So that is definitely considered in the high speed area. Now, fortunately, there was no collision, but it, as we all can see and hear, that could have been a very different story. No two ways about it. But it just shows you how important it is to pay attention and not allow yourself to get distracted. Now, we don't know the outcome of this, so we're not speculating, but clearly something went wrong in the communication chain somewhere.
Yeah, indeed. Carlos, any thoughts?
No, I just saying I did watch this. I watched this on the Vast Aviation website, which is it's interesting. It's a great little website. If you've not already seen it on YouTube, they cover all these kind of things. They have the live ATC transmissions of these incidents and stuff, and you can listen to them. And it has like an overlay, which we've obviously shown on the show before on here. And it's interesting to hear the conversation chatter between the air traffic control and the tower and the pilots, because sometimes, Nev, I think you've listened to them before as well. Sometimes it can get quite heated conversations between pilots and ATC.
One of the things Micah is saying here, as well as saying another issue, is that the ground frequencies are different from tower frequencies, and you're either listening to one or the other. So, I mean, that seems like a very dangerous situation, surely. Perhaps I'm being sort of naive, and John is saying there's all procedures and stuff into it. And speaking of heated, John Jester is saying brake cooling times depend on weight and speed. In my plane, we likely would be changing tyres if we were in that situation.
And underwear.
Expensive.
Yeah, and underwear, as Nev says. Yeah, absolutely. Never forget the underwear change. Always very important.
Hello to Cat and Ridiculous Wits. Good to see you in the chat room.
Indeed. Hang on. ASDEX saved the day. Likely the alarms would have been going off in the tower cab. Okay, fair enough. And apparently it's been confirmed that they did indeed go off. So the alarms that go off if any aircraft are sort of in conflict with each other.
A bit like TCAS, but on the ground.
Yeah, essentially, I suppose. Yeah.
So next story is coming to us from Flight Global. It's all about the A220. Delta have ordered a dozen more A220s. I'm yet to blooming fly on one of these. I'm gonna have to work out how the hell I'm gonna fly on an A220 in the UK or Europe. But anyway, Delta Airlines has exercised options on 12 more Airbus A220s, 300s, for delivery in 2026 and 2027. The SkyTeam carrier, which became the first US airline to operate the Pratt & Whitney GTF-powered A220s back in 2018, currently operates 14 of the A220-300s and 45 of the smaller A220-100s. Following Wednesday's order, the dozen option for the type exercise in July, Delta has 60 A220-300s on order, in addition to the 14 already in service, and it also operates 45 of the -100s. Delta Vice President of Fleet, Kristen Butch, Bodko, says the additional 12 A220 aircraft will help power the increasing streamlined fleet, which also provides customers with the elevated in-flight experience they've come to expect from Delta. Delta operates its A220-300s in a 3-class 130-seat configuration, featuring 12 seats in first class, 30 in its Comfort Plus extra legroom economy offering, and 88 in the main cabin. With the latest order, Delta throws more support behind Airbus, with which the airline is closely aligned in recent years. Delta also holds orders for 134 of the Toulouse airframe's largest narrow-body, the A321neo. In July 2022, Delta also disclosed having ordered 100 Boeing 737 MAX 10 aircraft as well. Now, Nev, you've been on board one of these, I think, haven't you, Nev? I don't know if you've been one in the air, but you've been on board one, haven't you?
Yes, Al and I went, at Farnborough, wasn't it? That's right, yes. That was very, very nice. Very spacious inside the aircraft, especially the overhead bins. Loads of room in there. And had a quick tour of the cockpit as well. And that was nice too. So, this is going back to 2017? We saw it. I can't remember, but it was a great aircraft. But I've never been on one yet. Looking forward to having the opportunity to going on one, perhaps one of the Swiss ones, perhaps from Heathrow one these days. But great aircraft. Really like it.
Yeah, gonna have to look and see. I don't know what two we've got in the UK who use the A220, Nev.
It's Swiss and. Gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment, but
John Jester says Air Baltic.
Air Baltic too. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Air Baltic have an all A220 fleet, apparently, from what they're saying. Captain Cruz says flew Air France A220 the other day. Seats, baggage, holds, lavatories, windows, same as any other aircraft, is what he's saying.
I was expecting some kind of passenger experience comment from you, Captain Cruz.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all that is, he's saying it's no different to any other. That's essentially what he's saying. Indeed, an airplane is an airplane. He sounds like my kind of man. He really does.
Oh, dear, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Next story, Matt. This is a follow-up on a story that we've been covering now for a little while on the show.
And John has suggested I pop my teeth in for reading this story, so we'll see how we get on. Airbus implements A350 design change amid Qatar Airways feud. It's coming from Reuters.com. That's the source on this particular story. And Airbus has carried out design changes to A350 passenger jets amid a $2 million dispute with Qatar Airways over surface damage, which spilled over into a debate on security on Thursday. The two companies have been fighting in court for months over the safety impact of flaking paint that exposed corrosion or gaps in a sublayer of metallic lightning protection. Qatar Airways has blamed the damage on a possible design defect. Airbus argues the former design remains state-of-the-art and is safe. At the heart of the case is a sandwich of copper foil between the carbon fuselage and outer paint on the A350 jets, designed to allow lightning strikes to wash safely away. Reuters first reported in November 2021 that Airbus was studying a new type known as perforated copper foil, PCF for short, initially because it was lighter than the current expanded copper foil, ECF, but also because it would ease cracking. Qatar told a London court on Thursday that Airbus had started implementing the change and called for more information. Airbus confirmed its partial use from late last year. PCF is being used on rear section parts of the aircraft delivered from the end of 2022, an Airbus spokesman said. Wrapping up the latest preliminary hearing, Judge David Waxman, who who described the decision to start using the new design as significant to the case. The European regulators say the jets are safe, but Qatar Airways says this can't be guaranteed without more detailed analysis. Qatar Airways seeks access to raw modelling data that would allow its technical experts to simulate the impact of lightning. But there were tense exchanges in court on Thursday after Airbus said French security services had raised concerns about sharing data models on jets, some of which are used by European governments. Airbus cited cyber attacks on such data. Qatar Airways accused Airbus of resorting to a new tactic to block the release of data that could be valuable to its case after the plane maker was overruled in a previous bid to use a special blocking law defending French interests. In a rare note of compromise, lawyers for the two companies provisionally agreed arrangements to secure data. So to summarise, basically, because if like me you're probably a bit lost by that, John has very kindly shared a sort of like a long story short scenario. Qatar stopped flying the A350s because of the cracks in the paint. Those cracks are lined to the copper foil on the outside of the A350 jets. Qatar says this is a design defect. Europe says it's safe. Airbus says that it's state of the art. Qatar brings Airbus to court. That's a rough summary. Airbus has now redesigned its layer, saying that it's lighter than the previous copper and could ease cracking. Qatar says that Airbus need to release all these technical details and raw data from the modelling. Airbus say that can cause Airbus are saying that causes security issues at a European level, but London courts disagree. So what's next? Qatar and Airbus aren't actually at a trial stage yet. So next would be a corporate trial deciding the outcome. This is currently months away. Anything else? Actually, yes. London has also ordered Airbus this Thursday to disclose any information of the compensation it gives to any customer due to this issue. To every customer of the A350.
So if you're wondering why your ticket on your next A350 flight might be more expensive, this might be one of the reasons. The legal costs involved in this are, or will be, and are astronomical, I would imagine. So they need to fix it one way or the other. It's just horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just put them all in a boxing ring together. Ding ding.
Alex Robinson is saying Carlos, Qatar wouldn't be having these issues if they had L1011s instead.
Exactly. Alex Robinson makes a massively fantastic point.
What have you done? Please don't feed the beast. Absolutely,
Alex,
not.
You are an absolute legend. Alex is now raised to top tier status.
Oh, have I got to send him another? Have I got to send him a mug now? Is that what's going on? Micah says Airbus says Qatar. Airbus says Qatar. It's just a very flaky airline.
Oh dear.
Tumbleweed, anyone?
Well, they should have used primer. They should have used primer.
Yes, Dirk S is saying lots of appeal. On Qatar.
What are these lot like in here, honestly?
Micah says again, Qatar tells Airbus to take off their tinfoil hats. Right, very good. We're all writing our own headlines here.
Anyway, the Caption This is coming up later, so don't panic, everyone. We are having the Caption This competition this week. It's back, so don't panic. But anyway, moving on to the next story, which again is Airbus related, I might add. Nev's got this one all about A350.
Yeah, this is interesting about the A350 1000. It's from the Engadget.com and FlightGlobal.com. Very interesting some testing going on here, I think. It says that autonomous transportation assistance isn't limited to cars. Airbus has started testing a pilot assistance feature, Dragonfly, that could save an aircraft in an emergency. The system can automatically divert a flight in an emergency, and it can not only pick a flight path to the best airport using factors like airspace rules and weather, but communicate with air traffic control and an airline's operations centre. If the pilots are incapacitated, the aircraft can still land safely. Accordingly, Dragonfly can automatically land on any runway using sensors and computer vision algorithms. Pilots can even help taxiing around airports through technology that translates air traffic controllers' clearance into usable guidance clues in a companion app. It can assist with speed control and alert pilots to obstacles. Crews can spend more time getting ready for the actual flight. While using an A350-1000 jet, the Airbus Research and Development Division will now conduct further flight testing. Project engineers fit the A350 with 3 external cameras just below the flight deck windscreen and are considering what sensors deployment on commercial airlines would need to achieve regulatory approval. By early December, the Airbus Up Next team had achieved full functionality from the system, which also includes advanced UHF and VHF communication systems. It already has conducted flights in cooperation with specially trained French air traffic controllers, including a simulated medical emergency on a flight across southwest France, in which the aircraft diverted to Toulouse on a flight to Lyon. When medical emergencies arise, the Dragonfly technology can automatically select the most suitable airport and flight path for a diversion, dealing with factors such as terrain and weather. The system can operate fully autonomously or serve as a decision-making tool for the flight crew whilst alerting both the airline's operations control centres and air traffic controllers using synthetic voice systems. The system being tested by Airbus Up Next shows pilots a clear path along taxiways, with each clearance given by air traffic controllers, including permitted speeds. It also includes surveillance to detect obstacles and avoid the risk of crossing live runways, giving audio alerts to pilots. These processes have already been undergone testing in real-time operating conditions at the Toulouse airport. According to Isabelle Lacaze, head of Dragonfly demonstration program, the technology is being developed with dual pilot operations in mind. She played down suggestions from reporters that work might be part of a longer term progression to support the case for single pilot airline operations, and said that early results already have shown the potential for huge value in helping pilots deal with the very complex situations they face today. Yes, I noticed a lot of media outlets were starting to talk about single pilot operations or fully autonomous commercial aircraft operations. I don't think that's what they're talking about here. They're talking about additional pilot assistance. But it seems that they've gone quite a long way down this route, doesn't it? So I'll be interested to see what the next testing phase is and what people like the CAA and EASA and the FAA have to say about this kind of thing. So
Aaron P is saying in the chat room, actually, it's a bit like the Garmin Autoland system for light aircraft. Yeah, indeed. It's just Otto 4.0, Dirk S is suggesting. Indeed. Oh dear. I don't know. Is it? I hope Dragonfly does speak other languages than French.
Other than
is
French,
also
that could be a bit confusing.
Yeah. I suppose. I guess it's the as a tool to aid pilots. I can see why it would be appealing, but I can't help but feel this is a step towards, single pilot operations, on the grounds that if, say, it was single pilot operations and they were incapacitated for some reason, a system that could be remotely, fired up, if you like, without anybody else being there. I don't know.
I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Okay.
Single pilot operations of that kind of thing. But, who knows? Who knows? But no, I think that there have been so many situations that you can think of in commercial aviation over the years where, you've got to have two pilots in the cockpit.
A brilliant point here by Bill, actually, saying it'd be interesting to use the A350 system that we're talking about there on the JFK scenario talked about earlier, of course. Wouldn't that be a fascinating exercise?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dirk S is saying, I wonder how it will react to ATC answering its calls. True. Very true.
Might just give them a number to ring.
Yeah. Yes, it might well do. True that. True.
That'll be nearly like flying an Airbus soon. You know, we just press a button to take off.
Well, it is
and
an
press a
Airbus.
button to land.
It is an Airbus.
Well, no, like that, that's the special Airbus that we talk about in the show. You know, with the two buttons.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Pilots literally just press a button to go and press a button to land.
Well, there we go. There we go.
Controversial there.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to the next story, and it's the last story in the commercial news this week. And this one is coming to us from Armando, and it's from the warbirdsnews.com website. And it's all about the Carolinas Aviation Museum being renamed after a certain someone we all know.
All right, this next story hits a little bit close to home. No, actually, it is actually close to home. It's right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The former Carolinas Aviation Museum has officially announced this week that when it reopens, it will be named the Sullenberger Aviation Museum, honoring Captain Sully Sullenberger, who, along with his crew, famously landed Cactus 1549 U.S. Airways Airbus into New York City's Hudson River. So Sully, who is a flight safety advocate, was on hand for the announcement at the Renaissance West Academy, STEM Academy in West Charlotte, where the museum leaders and all other museum officials also provided updates on the capital campaign and construction progress for the museum's new facility at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. So the museum houses the famous airplane, the actual airplane, Cactus 1549, which was en route to Charlotte on January 15th, 2009, after taking off from LaGuardia Airport. And it has had a corresponding exhibit to that since 2011. Dozens of passengers aboard the flight were from Charlotte, and many are still here calling this region home today. Now, Rick Elias, who is a Flight 1549 survivor and CEO of Red Ventures, they have a diverse portfolio of influential brands, businesses, digital platforms. He personally donated $1 million alongside $500,000 from Red Ventures' Lonely Planet to the museum's liftoff campaign as a way to honor Captain Sullenberger. Now, the museum is projected to open by the end of 2023. 105,000 square foot Sullenberger Aviation Museum multi-building campus will offer immersive learning experiences like flight simulators, interactive exhibits, and STEM education programs, and lots of storytelling opportunities from aviation here in the Carolinas. Now, the Liftoff campaign, chaired by Mark Oken, is the largest capital campaign in the museum's history and has actually raised 94% of the approximately $31 million anticipated cost for the renovation of the museum. A $5 million commitment from the Charlotte Douglas International Airport's Cannon Fund went to securing the site for the museum, and then a $1.5 million gift from Honeywell, another $1 million contribution from Bank of America, which is based here in Charlotte, to name and sponsor the Miracle on the Hudson exhibit. Bank of America did that because they actually had about 24 employees on that aircraft on that day. Flight 1549 and its passengers have collectively started the Flight 1549 campaign, which is a separate funding initiative dedicated to preserving the aircraft and funding the corresponding materials and collections for years to come. Now, before the museum closed for its renovation, I went there. I've been there a couple times since it is right here in Charlotte. Also, I've been there on layovers before I lived here in the Charlotte area. And it's an amazing exhibit. It's an amazing experience to walk around the actual aircraft that went into the Hudson, and you can see the damage to the aircraft, yet how amazingly it stayed together with not a lot of damage. So it's weird that there's damage, but there's not a lot of damage at the same time. Maintained its structural integrity. One of the engines is there, I believe, and again, it's just it's just sitting in a hangar. So I'm very excited to see how they present this aircraft to the public, because it was really such an amazing feat of airmanship from Sullenberger and his crew and his first officer. So again, kudos to Captain Sullenberger it'll be the Sully Museum here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and hoping to get a sneak peek. Maybe we'll reach out to them and check it out.
Absolutely, I think that should be Armando's first job, is get himself over to that when it's opened and see if they'll allow a bit of filming and stuff like that. I mean, it is a story that it just captures even me, who's not that interested in aviation, couldn't wait to go and see the film and all that kind of thing. It's such an incredible story, isn't it? So I'm surprised, 'cause this isn't the only museum, is it, that's been dedicated to this? There is one already, isn't there? I seem to recall, or have I?
No. I'm just upset they didn't obviously receive the application from me. The
application from you?
I opted for them to call it the PTUK Museum, but
we have a museum.
Well, I was hoping we would have one.
I mean, that's one way of describing your collection of various air parts that you're building your own plane from, but I'm not quite sure
I could actually, open my own museum.
Absolutely.
Fair,
Indeed.
Yeah, I think that would have made it more
it amazes me as well about how long ago this was. This is 2009.
I know, scary, isn't it? So scary.
That just seems such a long time ago, doesn't it?
It really does.
And yet, in so many respects, it seems as it were yesterday. Then.
Yeah, indeed. A very memorable event with a happy ending for a change as well. That's the best bit about it, isn't it?
Always,
especially given some of the especially given the stories that we've been reading, earlier on in today's show. It shows how very easily it could have been a different story. I'm ignoring you on purpose, Carlos. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Dirk, what's Dirk saying?
Dirk S is saying, you have the right age to be displayed. You have the right age to...
Dirk S, right. Where's my... Right.
You have the right age to be displayed in a museum, is what Dirk S is suggesting.
How do you put them in timeout?
I'm afraid that function has been disabled for you, Carlos. I'm so sorry. Indeed.
Oh, thanks, Dirk. Yeah. Much love to you all.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on that bombshell. Moving on to the next part of the show, which is equally as amusing as Dirk's comments in the chat room. And this is our Caption This. Yes, we missed it last week, but it's back this week. And it's our Caption This competition that we run on our Facebook page nearly every Wednesday, when I don't forget. And this one was quite an entertaining picture, I will say. It came with some quite entertaining answers as well. Most of them kind of pointing towards a certain member of our team here. Okay.
Oh dear.
And so
why don't I like the sound of the way that you
What we'll do is we'll let that team member describe the picture that Matt will pop up on the screen here for the Caption This picture.
Yes, well, it's a fella sitting in a passenger seat in an aircraft, but he's been very much bound and gagged, so he will not be giving the crew any difficulty, that's for sure, on this flight. But we've not been short of suggestions for the captions this time.
Indeed.
So the first one, I'll kick off things then. The first one comes to us from Jonathan, who says, Nev, after being told he has to sit in economy as business was overbooked.
Nick says, what do I get if I have a platinum card?
John says Armando overheard Nev telling producer John that he wanted to take over the military section. Armando fights back using his pilot-issued passenger suppressions bodge tape. Sure Nev is unable to leave his seat at London City Airport in time to make the show.
Quite, indeed.
That was a very sophisticated answer, but probably quite accurate.
Indeed.
Becky says, I like this one, bound at last.
Oh, yes.
See what she did there. Nicholas says, extreme measures had to be taken when it turned out that Matt's connecting flight was a 757.
Neil says, Alan Carr enjoying Ryanair's new business.
Oh, how rude. How rude.
Jan says, Geez, Sir Nev in a prisoner seat? 2B.
2B, good point, well made. Nicholas says Nev went thermonuclear when Carlos explained their next airshow trip would be on Ryanair, and there was no seat 1A. I mean, there is a seat 1A.
There is a seat 1A. Yeah.
It's just not to the standard to which Nev would expect. Absolutely.
Chris says, waiting on my deadhead home and the NOTAMs go down. I was fit to be tied.
I see what they did there. Yes, very good.
Stephen says, when you take hold my beer too far.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, hold my beer. Yeah, absolutely. Richard says, Anna in recruitment misunderstood the requirement to bond new pilots.
Richard says the amount of red tape in aviation was reduced in an instant.
Yeah, it's just green tape instead. Yeah, absolutely.
One of my favourites here from Steve, who says, and I say, and our co-host for this week's episode is Neville's Bound.
Dear me. And finally, Steve says, stop kicking my seat. Indeed.
Is there some from the chat room?
I can say, is there some in the chat room? I don't know.
Oh, my word, there is.
Captain Ridiculous Wits is saying, I must say, this is the weirdest request we've ever had from a passenger, but okay, sure. Yeah.
My good friend Alex Robinson in the chat room says, Carlos mentions the L1011 one too many times.
Brilliant idea. Yeah, absolutely. Have him bound and gag every time he mentioned it. That's clearly they're really picking on you, Nev. Neville Bound, it says from Bill.
From Bill.
Captain Ridiculous Wits is saying, this is not seat 1A, I don't care. Sit down and shut up and love it or I'll make you. It's a bit aggressive, isn't it?
And yeah, Stig says, drummer says, hey guys, let's play some of my songs.
Captain Cruz says, next level turbulence protection device. I quite like that.
That is a next level protection device.
It is definitely, yeah.
So don't forget, if you want to be part of the Caption This Just for Fun part of the show every week, on a Wednesday I'll post another rather amusing aviation related picture on our Facebook page, so get yourselves over there. If you've not already found us, give us a look and give us a like while you're there as well, and follow the page. And yeah, like I said, the picture will go up, and leave us your wittiest comments, and I'm gonna search this weekend for another witty picture for next week's show.
Brace yourselves.
So that all right, fair enough. John's saying, can I have a higher quality picture?
Yeah, the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution was a bit pants. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. Apologies to everyone watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the audio, it makes no sense whatsoever.
File size.
Quite,
and don't forget as well, if you are listening to this as an audio podcast, we are on YouTube, and if you want to see the picture, it is on our YouTube page as well during the show.
But check out our socials as well. You'll find it on Instagram, Facebook, and of course Twitter.
So it's the next part of the show, and it's good because it's Armando's part of the show, and it is, of course, the military segment, which Armando has very kindly sent in videos for us this week. So, Matt, if you're ready, punch that grey button.
What's up, Buggies 135, 50, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay, 100 St. Buggies.
All right, now this first military story was published by the Air Force, DefenseNews.com, as well as some aviation enthusiast websites. HH-60W Jolly Green 2, they're not Jolly Greens anymore because it's just Black Hawks, combat rescue helicopters were involved in their first real-world casualty evacuation operation in the African area of responsibility. This was a combined force of deployed U.S. assets which coordinated assets to save 2 lives of a partner force outside the wire, which is what we call, anything basically outside the protected military base. This was in late December in the Horn of Africa. Now, the force consisted of an HC-130J recovery aircraft, Guardian Angels from the 347th Rescue Group, as well as HH-60W Jolly Green 2 combat rescue helicopters in their first operational deployment to the African AOR. Now, in a statement from Tech Sergeant Jason Burns from the 435th Expeditionary Wing, he said that the first HH-60W combat CASEVAC in operations and African AOR operations, the HH-60 and its sister squadrons are assigned to a personnel recovery task force under the direction of the 449th Air Expeditionary Group and the Joint Personnel Recovery Center. The special capabilities and training of these HH-60W crews make it a unique capability within the African AOR as well as the Middle East AOR, anywhere else that they may be deployed, that enables commanders to reduce the overall risk to the mission for both U.S. and partner forces. Now, this Personnel Recovery Task Force, the PTRF, is specifically manned, trained, and equipped to respond to emergency battlefield situations to return American, allied, and partner forces to friendly control. And while personnel may be behind enemy lines or at least contested lines beyond any kind of support, this particular team is equipped to travel great distances and fight their way in and out if necessary to make the mission happen. So alert crews were activated during the pre-dawn hours and responded quicker than the required theater response times, which is usually just about 30 minutes. So they were probably on call and ready to go. Now, the initial pickup of the injured individuals was quick, and the team was in and out of the area without any incident. Then they immediately made for the nearest medical facility for trauma surgery, while pararescue men, which are onboard medics, performed their own stabilizing emergency medical care in the aircraft's cabin. The HC-130s were then called to swiftly move the most seriously wounded individuals to another location for further treatment. Both lives were saved. Now, the successful recovery of isolated and injured persons is a capability that transcends sort of the tactical, operational, and strategic response time. Everything stops when one of our individuals or a partner individuals needs help. Now, this preserves critical resources and is a key element in providing morale and welfare to the individuals that are out there, knowing that somebody's got their back and they can be rescued, no matter what, in fairly quick timelines. As already reported here on this show, last year, General Mark Kelly, commander of Air Combat Command, declared that the HH-60W helicopters had reached initial operating capability back in October of last year. So this is incredibly important. This, we practice, we build these new capabilities, new helicopters, new resources, and to be able to actually put this into practice and rescue some individuals is just an incredible feat. Well done to everybody that took part in this operation. I guarantee you it wasn't just pilots and pararescue men. Usually when something like this happens, it goes all the way up to the top, sometimes to the Pentagon, sometimes even to the White House, and our partner nation's senior civilian leadership to make something like this happen. So well done to the U.S. Air Force and its new helicopter capabilities.
There we go. Thank you, Armando. It's new helicopter.
HH-60.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jolly green. I honestly, I just keep thinking of that blooming advert now. The Green Giant advert.
Lovely. Yeah. All those wise words that were falling out of Armando's mouth, and that's the only thing that pops into your head is the Jolly Green Giant.
Ho ho ho!
Indeed, but very much well done on all those involved in many lives saved. That is quite the achievement.
Yes, very much so. Also, a very important part of the military part side of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, agreed.
Next video coming up from Armando from the warbirdsnews.com website is all about a very famous aircraft indeed in the military service.
Hey guys, this next military story is a little bit of an update from an aircraft that we talked about a couple of years ago on the show. Now, it's been a little bit of time since we talked about former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower's Lockheed VC-1 Constellation, named Columbine 2. This ex-U.S. Air Force executive transport has been undergoing a restoration at Dynamic Aviation following its arrival at the company's headquarters in Bridgewater, Virginia on March 23rd, 2016, when I believe we talked about it on the show. After the sad and untimely loss of the company's founder, Carl Stoltzfus, in November 2020, the project underwent period of a bit of a reassessment, but we are happy to report that work has since resumed and lots of progress has actually occurred in the interim. Now, the following edited report comes from Dynamic Aviation's restoration team. They said that the first Air Force One is in process of having all 4 of its original R3350 engines overhauled and updated. Now, as part of a reliability and safety package, plans include having a 5th engine on hand as a spare. Now, anyone operating R3350s in the present day has to use 100-octane aviation fuel, which allows the engines to produce around 2,500 horsepower each. Of course, these engines were once capable of producing significantly more power with higher octane fuels produced in the era of their manufacture and during the war. But such mixtures have not been available for decades due to their exceedingly high toxicity. So even so, the combined effort of the 4 engines on the first Air Force One will generate nearly 10,000 horsepower, which is more than adequate to propel her anywhere in the country. Now, the Lockheed Constellation is one of the most visibly striking aircraft designs of its day, one of my favorite of all time, and at the top of my what would you fly checklist. And it became a bit of a legend during its service life, offering fast, safe, reliable travel during the post-World War II period. Now, the civilian version evolved from the Army Air Force's C-69 transport, which first entered service in small numbers during mid-1943. Now, in 1951, while he was serving as NATO's first Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, then General Dwight D. Eisenhower regularly flew aboard a U.S. Air Force VC-121 Constellation, which soon gained the nickname Columbine. That's Colorado's official state flower. Now, in honor of Eisenhower's wife, Mamie, who spent much of her childhood in Colorado Springs, when Eisenhower became president in January 1953, he again had a Constellation serving as his personal transport, this time VC-121A, serial number 48-0610. Now, this is the aircraft which became known as Columbine II, the first presidential aircraft to use the call sign Air Force One. Now, Dynamic Aviation intends to restore the first Air Force One's interior to appear as it did during the Eisenhower era. All of the aircraft's major systems, components, and fixtures will be addressed regarding their safe operation, but the cabin will be the most significant aspect for the public to experience when they visit the aircraft. Dwight and Mamie Eisenhower's granddaughter, Mary Jean Eisenhower, has provided an exceptional collection of family photographs which will allow Dynamic to add detail to Columbine II's historical record and offer a near-perfect representation of the former president's aircraft. Now, this restoration is a little bit close to home to me. Again, I keep saying that on this show. I don't know how I end up in these situations, but in 2017, 2018, something like that, I ended up working with Dynamic Aviation in Bridgewater. They're outstanding team of individuals providing both aviation and maintenance services, outfitting new next generation aircraft. And I was lucky enough to go to their facility in Bridgewater, and their chief mechanic for the restoration project of Columbine II actually gave me and the guy that I was with a tour. So after the airplane had just arrived, I think it was just about a year, we were able to walk through, up the stairs and through the cabin as they were still tearing stuff out pre-restoration, kind of figuring out where it is that they wanted to go with it. This is such a cool airplane. Constellation is one of my favorite airplanes in the world, and Matt's going to throw up some pictures, I'm sure, but I can't wait to see this aircraft both flying and at air shows around the world, because to be honest, there's just not that many Connies flying around. So well done again to the team at Dynamic Aviation, and I can't wait to see this airplane fly.
I have to say, I think that's such a cool thing, isn't it? It's a piece of history, isn't it? Which I know is the whole point of a lot of these restorations. But everybody knows Air Force One, don't they? You don't have to be a plane geek to know about Air Force One and it existing. So I think this is a great idea. And as Armando says, hopefully it'll come over here and do the air show circuit here once it's all done and dusted as well. I'm sure it will.
That'd be nice to have Air Force One flying at Riyadh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. I can see it happening. We've got.
That begs a question actually. With the two current Air Force Ones that are in the US, obviously, were the ones which have been phased out eventually. Whether they'll bin them off or save one and pop one in a museum somewhere in the US.
I'd like to think they'll do the same that they're doing here. I think perhaps, I'd like them to do it all up and
keep it in.
sort of, take out the bits that they can't keep. I suppose they can't leave it exactly as is because I guess it could very much be a potential security risk, couldn't it? But it would be quite cool to sort of neat. It's we're going to discuss this with Bill, apparently. So a question for discussion: should such a unique and historic aircraft be flown, or should it be displayed in a museum? Ooh, now that's a tricky one. Me personally, yes. Jonathan Warner is saying personally, I'd say float. I'm actually with Jonathan on this one. I think aircraft are for me it would be the best of both worlds. So it would go to somewhere like let's use okay, it couldn't go to Duxford because obviously the runway wouldn't be big enough. But
it would.
Oh, would it?
Yeah.
Really?
Duxford would be all right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah, for the VC-21. Yeah, okay, right, yeah. For this particular one. But I think it would be fascinating for you to sort of see the thing flying, hear the noise and all that kind of thing, for it to then land, and then you could have, even if you had to book it in advance, you could then have a tour of it. So for the best of both worlds, if you like, for me, would be where it's a flying museum, literally, and it arrives at a venue of some description for you to investigate. It's the best of both worlds. Yes. Okay. John is taking the mickey out of me. We're going to ignore him and
anyway,
move on.
Yeah. No, Nev, Matt was just mentioning our very own Duxford there, but you've got a story here, haven't you, Nev? All about Duxford over in Cambridgeshire.
Yeah, it's one of our favourite places to go, isn't it? This is on warbirdsnews.com, and it says the Imperial War Museum at Duxford has announced the dates of its flying season, and as always, it promises to be an exciting one. The IWM flying season is always packed with events to fill the year with great days out, from their 2-day action-packed weekend air shows to 1-day flying events, including the museum's popular evening flying display and end-of-year season finale. As well as celebrating a half century of air shows at the former RAF base, there will be a new type of show presented in 2023. The Flying Days were introduced to the Imperial War Museum's Duxford events calendar in 2021, and each event is themed around available vintage aircraft, both those based at Duxford and beyond, to help retell a specific story from aviation history. The museum promises each event will bring you the best aerial choreography, storytelling and conservation success stories from IWM Duxford through thrilling flying displays and themed ground activities. Of course, these are subject to weather, serviceability and pilot availability, as is usual. Well, just to give you a quick rundown of what they're doing this year. On the Flying Days, the VE Day is on Sunday the 7th of May. Commemorating D-Day is on Sunday the 4th of June. The Duxford Summer Air Show is on Saturday and Sunday the 24th and 25th of June. Flying Days, the Americans, is Friday the 28th of July. Another Flying Days series, 19 Squadron, is on Saturday the 12th of August. The Duxford Flying Evening is on Saturday the 26th of August. And the Battle of Britain Air Show is on Saturday the 16th and Sunday the 17th of September. And finally, the Duxford Flying Finale is on Saturday the 14th of October. We're going to try and get to at least one of those this year, I think, and do our usual coverage, if we possibly can, depending on what the weather's doing and what have you. But from the ground to the skies above, IWM Duxford really does entertain generations with the best flying displays, special vintage entertainment, aviation history, and fun for all ages. So you can join the Imperial War Museums in 2023 as they celebrate 50 years of incredible air shows at Duxford. And for more information, you can visit the Duxford website, which is www.iwm.org.uk.
Now, here's something I didn't think I was going to be able to ask during this particular story is, Armando, did you ever get the opportunity to go to Duxford and see one of their flying days?
Every single one of them. I think you guys are so lucky to have Duxford. I love the Air Force Museum in Dayton, the Navy Museum in Pensacola, they're all good. There's something special about Duxford and being on that airfield with the people that have walked those same taxiways and the control tower being there and the same hangars that have been there for, over 75 years. I think Duxford is such a gem over there in the UK. I love it every single time.
Yep. That's good. It's good. I suppose the problem is, guys, actually, which one are we going to choose? That's the ultimate question, I guess.
I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, isn't there?
Is there anything that grabs you?
Well, the one in the summertime, the Duxford Summertime Air Show is always a good one. Possibly Sunday, the 25th of June.
I feel a meetup coming on. Woohoo!
Yeah. So yeah, the Duxford the Summer Air Show is a good one, and obviously also the Battle of Britain Air Show is also a good one in September.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll have a chat. We've got a production meeting coming up next month, haven't we? So we'll have a little chat, and perhaps we'll let you know which one we're going to be attending, so we can all have a little bit of a gathering. Because for me, I feel like this is like the first one. This is like the first year proper where we can all just sort of get together and go to. We've got a full calendar of air shows this year, which I think is just going to be great, isn't it?
I'll be sure to send over just a life-size cardboard cutout
of me
absolutely. with just an iPad that I can zoom in.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Zoom in as in, use Zoom.
We'll see if we can send you a live feed. Yeah, absolutely. We could probably make that happen. Leave it with me.
I mean, if we're going to do that, might as well make it chiseled.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we could do it. Yeah, absolutely.
About 6 inches taller and maybe a little bit slimmer.
Oh, here we go. Right. Okay.
In fact, just do Ryan Reynolds' body and then just put my face.
And put your face on it. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. That works. Yeah. Oh, I've got an image now. Don't mind me. It's gone very warm in the studio. Moving on, please.
Nice to have you join us, Armando. I know you've been busy. We've got a few minutes before we have to close up the show. But just for the benefit of everyone tuning in this evening, what have you been up to?
Today was a fun day. Today there was an owner. He just bought a Pilatus. It's a Pilatus PC-1245 series, and the word has gotten around that I'm available to instruct and mentor new owners. So this gentleman just bought this airplane, and they hired me on basically for about 25 hours of dual into the airplane. And when we went flying, I mean, we did short field approaches, different flap settings, different power settings. It was bumpy and windy today, which is great because that's great practice for a new owner. Not every flight's going to be a nice, calm, clear day. Short field landings, 3,000 foot strip. I took him up to a little airstrip. Then we stopped for lunch, had a cheeseburger and fries somewhere, and then flew back to Charlotte at the end of the day. So pretty fun. Good overall. I think we did maybe 12 takeoffs and landings. And
wow.
A couple instrument approaches. It's fun.
You'll need some new pages in the book then.
I don't log it, believe it or not. Well, I get dual given, but yeah.
Oh, I see. No.
Oh dear. And how did it fly? Was it good? Good purchase?
Man, I just love that airplane. No matter what airplane I fly, I always come back to the Pilatus. It's just such a fun airplane. Now it's like jumping into a 172 or something like that. It's just, you're comfortable in it, and it's so capable. It's just great airplane.
Oh. So, we're going to start to wrap up the show for this week. And I'll tell you what, Armando, as you're here, we'll drop you right in it. And Armando, social media links. Where can everyone find us in the world of social media, in case they don't?
Great, Carlos, because I don't have the show notes up. So, social media, you can just Google Plane Talking UK. You can go to Instagram, Facebook, just put our little name in there.
If you look at the screen, I'm popping them up there.
Yeah, social media, Plane Talking UK. Yeah. Somebody else is going to have to tell me the WhatsApp number.
There you go. Hang on. There you go. There it is. Look, there you go. Off you go.
+44, Matt's favorite airplane, the 757-22-491, and as you guys say, 66.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, we're always happy to hear from everybody, and you can help shape the show.
The website?
PlaneTalkingUK.com. Does anybody go to any of these things?
Yes, of course they do.
We just Google Plane Talking UK,
Yeah,
right?
no, fair. And that's it. Thanks. Please,
And don't forget,
please feel free to undo all of my hard work, Armando. That's no
If
problem
you
at all. What's the
wish-
email address, Armando?
There we go.
If you want to complain about one of the hosts, you can email us individually at our first names at planetalkinguk.com. Or if you want everybody else to see it, then it's podcast at planetalkinguk.com.
Right. Okay.
And he's right. He's right.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
And if
Unless
you,
it's Nev. Nev is just 1A at Plane Talking.
Yeah, 1A, yeah. Seat 1A at, yeah.
and if you fancy owning yourself or owning your one yourself, one of those grey mugs that Armando has somewhere in his home somewhere, or one of the PTUK mugs, you can get yourselves one of those off our website as well on the shop page, along with a t-shirt. If you fancy wearing a glorious t-shirt with the PTUK logo on the front, embroidered on the front and also on the back with printed with the name on, you can find those on the website as well, along with links to Patreon if you want to become a Patreon of the show and help support. God, that's repeating on me. Sorry. And help support the show. You can via the Patreon or PayPal link as well. I know it's an IPA. It's a funny IPA that was this evening.
You better finish quick.
Finish quick, yes. And just a quick, before we finish, we've got 5 minutes. Quick round robin of what everyone is up to next week on the show. We'll start with Armando.
Well, first of all, I want to introduce somebody who's very special to me. This is a live audience. This is Shelby York. She's a first officer at a regional airline here. It's one of the American Airlines wholly owns here in Charlotte. She is not just a good friend, but she's a great Reno acquaintance.
Wow.
With
hey, Shelby.
Hi.
You're live across the world on YouTube.
So, thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I threw her right into the fire. I didn't. Oh, and there's the other one. There's Megan.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, Megan.
There we go. There's the real star of the show. Hello. Yeah.
Hello, world.
Yeah.
There you go. And that's my time of that's what
Right.
we're doing.
Good. Lovely. Okay. Any nice plans with your guests this evening?
This evening, probably. Well, we've started with.
Coffee. We'll probably switch to something a little stronger.
Excellent. Good.
I've got Starbucks, and then I've got bourbon on standby.
Lovely.
I'll
Excellent.
be in Las Vegas tomorrow night. I'll be in New Orleans the next night, and then back in Las Vegas, and then back here on Wednesday. So,
wow.
Shelby, you going anywhere fun this week?
I have hot reserve tomorrow.
Hot reserve.
What is that? Just a description, or like?
Yeah, that's a character.
I'm on reserve and I'm hot. There we go. Yes, that's indeed. Anyway, okay, that's me in trouble. Who's next?
Anyway, moving on.
Sorry, I'll go and have a lie down. It's fine.
Nev, dig us out of this hole we're in now.
Well, on Monday, I'm doing an interview with the chair of the Transport Select Committee here in the UK. We're going to record that on Monday. And he's going to be talking to us about, well, you'll just have to wait and see, won't you, and listen to it. So we'll be broadcasting that interview on Friday of next week, on next week's show. So that'll be really interesting. One other thing to mention very quickly, our very good friend Michelle from Turning Left for Less is now in the podcast world. She's got episode 2 of her podcast out called This Week in Travel. It's also available on YouTube as well. So go over and have a look at that as well. We hopefully be having her on the show one of these days again
to
soon.
talk about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really looking forward to doing that. But
look forward to that.
Otherwise, no flying for me next week. But I should be preparing for the big Barcelona trade show, which we'll be having the following week. Very full on then.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
Exciting. Right. Well, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
No, that is where we're going to wrap up episode 441 of the show. Big thanks to everyone for joining us in the chat room this evening. Thank you to all the family as usual for joining us on this Friday night. And also a big thanks to everyone who downloads the show each week as an audio podcast. Thanks for listening to us in your cars, in your tractors, in your trucks, or wherever wherever you listen to us each week on the audio show. We'll be back next Friday on the show. Don't forget to tune in at 7 o'clock for that important interview that Nev will be doing this week. That'll be absolutely fantastic.
Can't wait for that.
And we'll see you all again next Friday night. Have a great weekend, whatever you're up to. Stay safe. And from me, Carlos, here in the home studio, from Matt in the PTUK Master Suite Studios, from Nev in his glorious countryside Buckinghamshire mansion studio, and from Armando across the pond. Take care. See you next week. Bye.